Welcome to Snail Trail 4x4. Today we're installing a Bilstein 2.5 inch kit on a 5th gen 4Runner. So once we took the tire off, the next thing we're going to do is we remove the lower bolt from the strut. It's just a 19 millimeter and you push it out all the way. And then what we do is usually just hammer it out the rest of the way with a one of these guys. Forgot what they're called. But it's in there pretty good now. I'm just going to lift up, pull that out, and then I'm going to undo the top of the strut. To remove the top of the strut, there's three, what are these, 14 millimeters, Brendan? Mm-hmm. Three 14 millimeter bolts, one back all the way in the back, and here and here. The next step is to remove these two bolts from the lower control arm that hold the spindle on. They are 19 millimeters or 3/4. So there's one here and one on the back side. We're going to pull those off, then that'll free this whole entire section up. Now we're just 14 millimeters. We're going to pop these off. That's going to release the spacer that we put on there a while ago. I don't know if I'm going the right way or not. Let's see. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I'm going this way. There. So now we're just going to compress the spring so that we can loosen this whole top section off and release this bolt right here. Once we release that nut, this whole assembly will come off. Then we can really relax everything. But we're going to need this assembly, this OEM assembly, to assemble the Bilstein shocks for this front. So we've got to save that part. So you need to snap the vice grips on here at the top. There's a flat spot just so you can hold on to there, because otherwise the whole strut will turn when you spin these things. So you've got to set that up to be held. Got my Vanna White assistant over here to give me a hand. Go ahead, Brennan. Ready? There it goes. Alright, now we just loosen it up. Take this off. Alright, now we can just take this off. Everything else comes off. This thing pops off. Whoop. There we go. We replace this also. It's just kind of glued down in there. You can just pop that off. We're going to be replacing this with another one. But everything else is you're going to need here. One thing to note is you're going to need to make sure that this lower bushing on the inside is there as well. I don't know how well that's going to come out on camera. It's kind of dark in there. But you're going to need that bushing in there. But we're replacing this bushing. So right here is this little snap ring. What we've got to do is we move it up every single one of these lines. We're going to move it up to the top one so we can get the 2.5 inches that we want. And you just do that by spreading these parts out and then stepping it up one at a time all the way to the top. Alright, there we go. So now that snap ring's all the way at the top, we can start assembling this strut. So you can see here that this side has the little indent dimple right there where this side doesn't have anything. It's also tapered. That's the way that you want to put this on. It's going to sit right here on this snap ring. So it just slides all the way over and it just slides down and it sits down on that snap ring right there. That's what holds the lower or the spring onto here. The spring is perfectly flat, so it sits right along there. Next, we're going to start building this area up. So this is the Bilstein rod adapter. It has this indent as well that's going to slide over. It slides right over the top and sits down on top of the rod. And then this is the lower washer. The lower washer is the smaller one of the two. Without reading the instructions, I would have thought it went the other way, but the smaller one actually goes on. So that goes on there. Now we're ready to put the spring on. One trick about the spring is you want to make sure that you're putting the writing the right way, as if you were to be able to read it when it goes on the vehicle. This is the bottom of the strut here, so we need to make sure that the writing is facing the correct direction. And then it just slides right over, and there it is. Now we've got to compress these springs a lot to be able to get that whole top assembly on. So now that we've got the spring compressed, the words are facing upwards, we're going to slide everything back on. Once again, we're reusing the OEM top bushing section, and make sure that bushing is in there. So that goes over the top, it slides all the way down, seats in there pretty well. Make sure that that spring is centered. Then what you do is you put the provided bushing on, and then the washer, and we've got enough threads already, and we're going to just slip that over. There you go. Now we're going to release these springs, and then we torque this nut down to 20 foot-pounds. So one thing I want to point out is that you need to lay this out so that it will fit inside of that mount in the top of on the bucket up there at the top. To do so, one of these bolts needs to be in line with the main shaft and down all the way down to the bottom where it's being held in the vise down here. One of these ones needs to be in line. So we aligned this one, that's going to be all the way down. That way, when you set it up, and this falls into the lower attachment point, this one will be able, the top section here will be able to go up into that upper bucket. So make sure to do that. Now I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit. Another trick is to remember that there's this underneath washer, and if you can move that along, or if it wiggles or bounces and is loose, then you know you're definitely too loose. And I'm actually pretty tight right there, it seems like, so I'm going to release these and then I'm going to torque it down to spec. Alright, now we just torque it down to 20 foot-pounds. Let's double check them on 20. Yep. Cool. There it is. This one's much lower than the other one. Interesting. Cool. Alright, now we put it inside of the vehicle. Re-plate. Reinstall! Alright, so now we're going to put the strut up into place. Hopefully we aligned that top correctly, and it all slides up easily. So this one's the back. Okay, that was away. Alright, we're almost there. Okay, we're in, we're up, and we're pretty much aligned. Cool. Let's align that up, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. Alright, so we buttoned up the front, we tightened the 3 bolts down at the top, we tightened the bottom of the strut, and the ones right underneath the front spindle. And so that's all done. Now we just got to put the tire on, and we're done in the front, and we're going to be moving to the back. Recording. Right now? No, I'm stopping recording. Oh. Well, it was bound to happen. I finally screwed up in filming that so bad that I'm not able to fix it or even fudge it one way or another. I was turning the camera off when I should have been turning it on, and I was turning it on when I was supposed to have it off. And so I was recording things that didn't matter, and then I didn't record the things, or I wasn't recording the things that actually do matter. But not all is lost. I'll put links down in the description for 2 other videos that I've done on this channel that go into depth on how to change that rear suspension. One of them's the how to level your 4Runner, and the other is installing an Icon suspension lift on your 4Runner. Both of those go into changing out that rear suspension. They go in depth on it, and you will be able to get all of your questions answered there. And if you have any additional questions, please put a comment down below. I'm happy to help, and I apologize for screwing up the end of this video. But if you need to know anything, please put a comment down below. Otherwise, hammer down on that subscribe button. I'm going to put it up here in the middle now. So you can follow along and catch up on any videos that I am putting out here. I put out a video at least twice a week. I'm trying for twice a week. I'm doing once on Tuesdays and once on Fridays or Saturdays. And don't forget, keep crawling.